Right now, defense forums and military subreddits are losing their minds over a few seconds of grainy thermal footage shot in the dead of night near Area 51. The internet has decided what they're looking at: a tailless batwing shape with no vertical tail, swept wings, and almost no heat signature. To them, this is it. This is the F-47, America's most classified 6th-generation fighter, caught on camera for the first time. And it gets stranger. Within days, a bizarre military patch started circulating too. A Firebird, 6 red stars, a Latin motto. And the shape of that bird's wings? It matches the thermal footage almost exactly. Here's the thing about black projects. What leaks is rarely the whole truth. Tonight, we're tearing apart the footage, the patch, and the rumors, and comparing all of it to what the Air Force has actually, officially confirmed. Welcome to JetCore. To understand why the internet is losing it over a thermal video, you need to understand the real program first. The F-47 next-generation air dominance fighter is not a rumor. It's a funded $20 billion reality, and its job is to replace the F-22 Raptor as America's primary air superiority fighter. In March 2025, Boeing did something almost nobody expected. They beat Lockheed Martin, the company that built the F-22 and the F-35, the undisputed king of American stealth fighters for 3 decades, for the biggest fighter contract in modern history. The officially confirmed specs alone sound like science fiction. Mach 2 plus, a combat radius of over 1,000 nautical miles. Because the Pacific is enormous, and any aircraft fighting there needs the legs to get out there, fight, and come home. But here's the detail that changes everything about how you should think about that thermal footage. Air Force Chief of Staff General David Alvin confirmed something most people don't realize. This program hasn't been sitting in digital models. In his words, for the past 5 years, the X-planes for this aircraft have been quietly laying the foundation for the F-47, flying hundreds of hours, testing cutting-edge concepts, and proving that we can push the envelope of technology with confidence. 5 years, hundreds of flight hours, in the shadows, since roughly 2019. So when something shows up on a thermal scope near Groom Lake in 2026, the question isn't whether something is flying out there. The question is what exactly got caught on camera. Here's exactly what happened. Between June 3rd and June 5th, 2026, a YouTube channel called Project Fear pointed an infrared 10-micron thermal scope at the restricted airspace over the Nevada Test and Training Range, Area 51, and they caught something. The footage shows an aircraft with no vertical tail, heavily swept, cranked-kite wings, what look like small forward canards near the nose, a tapered fuselage with a sawtooth trailing edge, and almost no visible infrared exhaust plume, which, if you know anything about stealth, tells you this thing was built specifically to be invisible to heat-seeking sensors. This isn't some shaky, unverifiable phone video. Defense media took this seriously immediately. The War Zone and The Aviationist, 2 of the most respected names in aviation journalism, both ran detailed analysis. Anders Ottesen, an OSINT thermal imaging specialist with Uncanny Expeditions, reviewed the raw footage and said, "As soon as they sent the footage over, I knew we were looking at something very interesting that has not been captured before. So the footage is real. It's authentic. Nobody serious is disputing that something flew over that range and got caught on thermal." Now here's where we have to be honest with you, because this is exactly where most channels stop digging. Is this the F-47, the final production aircraft that's going to roll off Boeing's assembly line? No, almost certainly not. Every credible analyst who looked at this footage reached the same conclusion. The aerodynamic shape lines up perfectly with early F-47 concept renderings. But that's exactly the point. This is almost certainly one of the X-plane technology demonstrators General Alvin was talking about, an aircraft that's been flying since at least 2019, a multi-million-dollar test article built to prove out the aerodynamic concepts years before the production jet exists. Think of it like this. If the F-47 is the final mass-produced car rolling off the factory line, what got caught on that thermal scope is the engineering prototype, the one covered in sensors, the one that's been driving around test tracks for years before anyone outside the company ever sees it. It's real. It's a genuine black project caught on camera. And it's a real piece of the F-47 story. It's just not the finish line. If you've made it this far, you already know more about how this story actually works than most cable news anchors covering it that week. Drop Phoenix in the comments. That's how I'll know who's actually paying attention. Because the patch we mentioned at the start, it's about to get a lot stranger. Around the same time that thermal footage went viral, something else started circulating on defense forums. An obscure military patch. It reads ACCF-47 SMO, Air Combat Command, F-47 System Management Office. At the center of the patch is a Firebird, a Phoenix. On one side, a white path traces the outline of China's eastern coastline, symbolizing this aircraft's job of penetrating heavily defended airspace. 6 red stars represent the flight test center at Groom Lake. And underneath it all, we overcome. We persist. We rejoice. Here's where it gets genuinely wild. Look at the wings of that Firebird. The shape, the sweep, the way they droop at the tips. It is the same planform, the same aerodynamic shape as the aircraft in the Area 51 thermal footage. The Air Force hid the shape of its most classified fighter inside a unit patch. And before you write this off as internet pattern matching gone too far, this has happened before. In the 1990s, Boeing built a top-secret stealth demonstrator called the Bird of Prey. Its unit patch featured a Klingon dagger, straight out of Star Trek. Years later, when the program was finally declassified, people realized the hilt of that dagger was an exact match for the aircraft's actual shape. It had been sitting on a patch the entire time. So is the Phoenix patch real? Yes, and this is confirmed, not speculation. A spokesperson for Air Combat Command officially verified it. Their exact statement: the patch is an early design concept, still being developed, and there is currently no official patch being worn by anyone in the Air Force. Read that carefully. The Air Force confirmed the patch is genuinely theirs. They made it, but they're also telling you, directly, that it's an early concept, not a finished design, and nobody's wearing it yet. So the patch is real. The shape inside it is probably meaningful, but like the thermal footage, it's a piece of an unfinished puzzle, not a photograph of the final aircraft. But that shape, the one in the footage, the one hidden in the patch, has triggered the fiercest technical argument happening in the defense community right now. Both the official F-47 renderings and the leaked footage show small forward wings near the nose, canards. And in stealth engineering circles, canards are controversial for a reason. Canards are fantastic for maneuverability. They improve lift-to-drag ratio. They give a fighter incredible agility at high angles of attack, the kind of agility that wins a close-in dogfight. But historically, moving surfaces on the front of an aircraft are a stealth nightmare. Every hinge, every gap, every moving edge reflects radar energy. And against the latest generation of Chinese millimeter wave radar systems, the kind specifically designed to detect exactly this, a canard can create a radar signature spike that undermines the entire point of being a stealth fighter. So here's the question every analyst is asking. If the F-47 is supposed to be the stealthiest aircraft ever built, why would Boeing put radar-reflecting canards on the front of it? The leading theory is genuinely fascinating. Analysts believe Boeing's Phantom Works division may be using something called active aeroelastic composites, materials that bend and flex to provide control surfaces without traditional hinges. No moving metal joints, no radar-reflecting gaps, just a wing that subtly changes shape under control, while looking to radar, like one continuous surface. If that's what's happening, it would solve the canard problem entirely. Maneuverability without the stealth penalty. Now, while the aerodynamics are still genuinely debated, the engine is not. This part is confirmed. The F-47 will run on engines developed under the Next Generation Adaptive Propulsion Program, NGAP. These aren't conventional jet engines. They use what's called a 3-stream architecture. In a dogfight, they behave like a high-thrust fighter engine, full power, full afterburner. But on a long transit across the Pacific, a 3rd stream of bypass air opens up, and the engine shifts toward the kind of fuel efficiency you'd expect from a commercial airliner. One engine, 2 completely different jobs. That's how you get a fighter with a 1,000 nautical mile combat radius. Here's the part of the story that has nothing to do with rumors, nothing to do with leaked footage. And it might be the most important part of the entire program. The F-47 was never designed to fly alone. For decades, the entire concept of air combat has been built around one idea: a single pilot, in a single jet, going up against the enemy with whatever sensors and weapons that one airframe can carry. Every upgrade, every new fighter generation has been about making that one pilot, in that one jet, more capable. The F-47 program throws that model out entirely. The Air Force has already confirmed the first two aircraft that will fly alongside it: Anduril's YFQ-42A, General Atomics YFQ-44A. These are collaborative combat aircraft, CCAs, autonomous drones built to operate as part of the same formation as the F-47, controlled by the human pilot in the cockpit. And here's the detail that should stop you for a second. These aren't experimental concepts buried in a research lab somewhere. These are real aircraft, with real contracts, built by real companies, with designations that the Air Force has put its name on. This is happening. Picture this: a single American pilot flying an F-47 deep into contested airspace. 50 miles ahead of them, 3 autonomous drones are already out there, doing the dangerous work first. One is a forward sensor, scanning for enemy aircraft, building a picture of the battle space, without putting a human pilot at risk to do it. If something out there is going to get shot at first, it's not going to be the one with a person inside it. A second is an electronic warfare platform, jamming enemy radar, scrambling their picture of the sky. Imagine being an enemy radar operator and watching your entire screen turn to static, with no idea what's actually out there or how many aircraft you're really facing. A third is essentially a flying magazine, extra missiles, ready to fire the moment the human pilot in the F-47 gives the order. The pilot doesn't need to carry every weapon themselves anymore. The weapons are already in the air, waiting. Now think about what that means from the other side. The enemy isn't fighting one stealth fighter anymore. They're fighting an integrated team, a quarterback and a squad of disposable intelligent wingmen, all flying ahead of the one asset that actually has a person inside it. And here's the part that should genuinely worry any adversary planning for a future conflict. These CCAs are designed to be expendable, not the F-47, not the pilot, the drones. That changes the entire math of air combat. In the old model, every aircraft lost was a massive cost: a multi-million-dollar jet, a trained pilot, potentially a life. In this new model, losing a CCA is closer to losing a very expensive piece of equipment. Painful, but not catastrophic. Which means American commanders can take risks with these drones that they would never take with a manned aircraft, pushing them further forward into more dangerous airspace, soaking up the first shots so the F-47 and its pilot never have to. This is the part of the F-47 program that's already locked in, already funded, already has hardware with real designations attached to it. While the internet argues about thermal footage and patches, this, the actual revolution, is sitting in plain sight, confirmed and largely ignored. And it's also the part that connects directly to a problem sitting in the Arizona desert right now. To test the weapons the F-47 will eventually carry, the Air Force needs realistic targets. Not simulations, not computer models, real aircraft, in the air, flying like real enemy fighters so American missiles can be tested against something that actually maneuvers like a threat. Right now, that job falls to the QF-16, the Zombie Viper, and the name fits better than you'd expect. These are retired F-16S, actual fighter jets that once had pilots, that once flew real missions, pulled out of storage at a MARG, the Boneyard outside Tucson, and converted into unmanned fully autonomous aerial targets. Conversion costs between $1 and $2 million per aircraft. They retain the full 9G maneuverability of a manned F-16 flown remotely from Tyndall and Holloman, with a Sidewinder warhead built into the airframe to self-destruct if anything goes wrong. Think about what that actually means. An aircraft that once carried a human being into combat now flies itself, on purpose, into the path of American missiles, so that the next generation of weapons can be proven before they're ever needed for real. The Air Force recently extended the QF-16 program all the way to 2035. About 90 of them remain. Here's why that extension had to happen. And this is where the story gets genuinely uncomfortable. Back in 2020, the Air Force tried to field a stealthy target drone, the 5GAT, built specifically to mimic the radar signature of a Chinese J-20 or a Russian Su-57. The whole point of the program was simple. If America's next missiles are going to fight stealth aircraft, they need to be tested against something that actually looks like a stealth aircraft to a radar. It crashed on its maiden flight. Software error. The program that was supposed to solve this problem never got off the ground. Literally. The replacement program is still in early development, with a $77 million contract just awarded to try again. Still in development. Not flying. Not yet. So sit with this for a second. Right now, while the F-47 is being built, while CCAs are already flying, while America is investing tens of billions of dollars into the most advanced air combat system ever conceived, the actual live-fire testing of the missiles that system will rely on is being done against fourth-generation airframes that don't look like the threats they're meant to represent. It's not that the missiles don't work. It's that nobody can be completely certain how they'll perform against a true fifth-generation radar signature, because the target that's supposed to simulate that signature crashed 5 years ago and still hasn't been replaced. And the Boneyard that supplies those aging QF-16ES. It stopped publishing its public inventory lists. The civilian bus tours that used to run through it, the ones that let aviation enthusiasts and history buffs walk among rows of retired aircraft, are permanently gone. No announcement, no public explanation beyond security considerations. Everything around this program is getting quieter, less visible, less accountable to public scrutiny. And the next generation, the F-47, the CCAs, everything we've talked about in this video, can't wait for the noise to stop. The program is moving forward on its own timeline, with its own urgency, while the infrastructure underneath it is still catching up. That gap between how fast the future is arriving and how ready the testing infrastructure actually is might be the most important thing in this entire story. And it's the one piece nobody on Reddit is talking about. So let's bring this all together. Grainy thermal footage shot in the dark near Area 51. A hidden military patch with a Firebird that matches its shape. A heated argument over canards and stealth. All of it real. All of it genuinely fascinating. And none of it the finish line. What we know for certain is this. There's a confirmed $20 billion program. A confirmed contract win that shocked the entire aerospace industry. Confirmed specs that sound like science fiction. Mach 2, a 1,000-mile combat radius, an engine that can switch between fighter and airliner modes mid-flight, and a confirmed fleet of autonomous wingmen with real names and real contracts already in motion. Whether the final F-47 looks exactly like what's hidden in that patch, or something even stranger that nobody's seen yet, one thing isn't up for debate. The engineers building America's next fighter have been flying test aircraft in the shadows for 5 years, and what showed up on a thermal scope in June 2026 was a real piece of that story. It's just not the whole story. It never is. Not with black projects. That's exactly why this channel exists. Not to chase every viral clip, but to tell you what's actually been confirmed and what's still just a really good guess. If that's the kind of channel you want more of, hit subscribe now. Because when the F-47 finally rolls out into the light, you're going to want to already be here when it happens. This has been JetCore. We'll see you in the next one.